dokie. Hello, welcome to the video. After I got done editing, I realized that my mug was not 100% YouTube safe, a bit too artsy, so I had to go back and add a blur on it, but we won't be doing that in the next video, and I've since destroyed the mug. So anyway, enjoy the video. Alrighty, hello everybody. That's a good vibe. Okay, couple things we're gonna do today. First, Deadlock. I've been really enjoying it. Thank you, Toasty, once again. Second thing, I do want to watch a video that I think I watched the other day, but we didn't get sound. So I kind of wanted to start there today, and then, alright, so we're gonna probably check out this one, then check out the full breakdown that he does, give my thoughts, give my opinions. Yeah, and so let's get into this little video here by Aztecross himself.
To us in its final form come this date. And let me just say, the stakes couldn't be higher. I know right now I may be sounding dramatic here, but as someone who has played Destiny now for 12 years, Halo before that, I've seen all the ups, and I've definitely seen all.
Yeah, just from Halo into Destiny 1, back into, Destiny 2. I've been there for Season of the Worthy. Forsaken was a great high. Black Armory was great. Menagerie, great. The introduction of Gambit was awesome. I don't know why Gambit went from, having different armor sets and stuff like this and like perks. I thought that was such a cool aspect of Gambit and earning that and then kind of going in and playing a certain role. I hope they bring that back someday. But when Gambit first launched, I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Point is, Bungie's made good stuff. And I think the Pete Parsons era of the company really dragged their whole brand into the ground, personally. But we'll continue watching.
The downs. And even though, yes, I am cautiously optimistic about Marathon, I do believe that this release is going to decide the fate for Bungie. And yes, for my Destiny community, this is going to directly affect us. This is going to be the day we find out if Bungie actually still has that magic.
I agree. And I don't want to be like, oh, you have to go buy Marathon if you care about anything Bungie related, but let's be real here. If Bungie fails with Marathon, there is no more Bungie. It's just going to be Sony making the old Bungie games, and maybe the devs behind the scene work for Sony and Sony comes out with whatever, but there will be no more Bungie Studio. It did make top Steam charts, so I think a lot of people are interested despite everything that's happened. So now it's really just up to them to deliver. And if they deliver, then, I think we could be seeing maybe a second golden age of Bungie. Because, and I was kind of saying this before in the first time I watched this video, is that right now Sony's pissed, right? Sony's like, why did we spend $3.6 billion on this company? And what, 4 of the 6 projects that were in development are no longer in development? Like, I'd be pissed if I was Sony. And they got bamboozled. Pete Parsons bamboozled Bungie. He said, yo, look at all this great stuff we're gonna do. It's gonna be so much money and your guys are gonna make so much money or whatever. But what he was really doing was just inflating the worth of the company to then sell it. And then all he had to do after he sold the company was just wait to get his golden parachute and leave the company. Not to say that it was all Pete Parsons' fault, Like, there's probably some Pete Parsons like-minded individuals also working at Bungie during this, his time there. And I just don't think it was good for the company. I think they held back a lot. They pushed a lot into the Eververse because their goal was to make money, not to make the game good.
To be
Yeah.
quite frank, they're gonna need a lot of it. This has been an uphill battle. And even though, yes, the most recent Vidoc was a return to form for Bungie, we cannot deny the fact that Bungie is in a corner here. And they've been in this corner. From layoffs to Sony's oversight, a community that is, quite frankly, exhausted. I cannot stress how significant Marathon actually is here, guys. This could be the lifeline that reinvigorates Bungie, that will bridge the gap between Destiny 2 and potentially its future, whatever that may be, a Destiny 3 or Destiny Forever. And hell, hopefully Marathon itself could just be a really good game, an extraction shooter that I might not necessarily call my.
Yeah. So my guess, and this is just, I don't know. I'm not an expert or anything, but just based off of what I've seen over the years, I want to say that Sony, after getting rid of Pete Parsons left, right? Sony came to Bungie and said, hey, and again, I wasn't there. I don't even know if this meeting happened. This is just kind of like my own headcanon. Sony came in and said, hey, Bungie, leaders of Bungie, we want to at least get one of these projects out, right? So this is what you need to focus on, right? And then if this game does well, if you can prove to us that you have the capability to make good games, because right now it's like, Sony spent all this money on them and they have nothing to show for it. Sony wants Bungie to succeed, but they gotta show that they can do it. And they've been kind of put on a short leash as far as like budgeting and stuff, because they have just hemorrhaged so much money by buying this company for what, $3.6 billion or something like that. Maybe they'll give them a little bit more extra cash or something like that to improve their games. But right now, it's like, why would you invest more into a company you've already invested a ton in?
Home, but I could see myself returning to seasonally. But if this game flops, I hate to say it, but I think this may be it. Something that will affect Marathon directly, but also affect Destiny directly, and just the studio as a whole. We've got a $40 price tag too that's also attached to this game. So today, we are going to be dissecting Marathon as a whole. From that $40 price tag to the Rook Shell that they've added for solo players, to talk about the Bungie community as a whole. Let me be frank here. The quote-unquote Bungie community is a bit traumatized. And look, I'm not even going to talk about like monetization within Destiny or how things have changed over the years or the fact that we still don't have a Destiny 3, even though Destiny 2 already wrapped up.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we carry with us more than that is the traumatic experiences of Bungie launches. Now, back in the Halo days, maybe I was just too young, but it didn't seem that dramatic. But new Bungie, Destiny Bungie, hot damn, every vanilla launch has almost killed this game. 2014, we had Destiny 1. And of course, I'm about the game. Hell, we were coming off of Halo Reach. Hell, I didn't even play the beta, but it was Bungie. However, when I picked up the game for the first time, played through its campaign, I was so perplexed. When there seemed to be a moment where maybe the game could just explain to me what the hell it is we were doing. Instead, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. The vanilla launch was very confusing. Even though, yes, I was having a good time with the gameplay aspect, cohesively, its narrative just didn't make sense. And we know the reasons for that. But the only reason why Destiny 1 didn't die right then and there is because Vault of Glass, their raid, rolled out a few weeks later. And yes,
Okay, I know Cross has been talking about Destiny Classic for like what seems like an eon, right? What if, and again, I don't know if they have access to this, and this is definitely like a pipe dream for sure, but what if Bungie went with Destiny Classic, right? But then they found or used the original script for the game. So it wasn't just like, oh, hey, here's Destiny Classic, here's the original story, that whatever, blah this, blah blah that. And yeah, there might be some legalities there for sure, but what if they just gave us a straight up reboot of Destiny 1 to tide us over so they have time to make on Destiny 3? And then maybe like they combine that with Destiny 2 and work that in some way.
that changed the game. But really, it was truly the Taken King. The expansion that launched a year after vanilla launch that saved Destiny 1. That was the expansion that really we should have gotten at launch. But it was the expansion that told us, listen, Bungie's doubling down. They believe in their vision. And this is a game worth playing because so much depth was added into the game. I'm not gonna lie, guys. During that time frame, going from Taken King into Rise of Iron, I felt like Bungie.
Yeah, what a great time.
was just clicking on all cylinders. Yes, we had some content droughts, but the content that dropped on us absolutely hit. But even more impactful was that I felt like Bungie was learning from their mistakes. They saw what happened in 2014 when D1 launched. Surely, nothing like that could ever happen again.
And then Age of Triumph came out with exotic primaries that had elemental effects on them or whatever. Like you could get an arc primary or a solar primary instead of just kinetic. It was an amazing time. So,
well, this is where the trauma comes in, boys. Because in 2017, Destiny 2 launched. And everything Bungie learned in Destiny 1, Taken King, Rise of Iron, well, guess what? They unlearned it. Somehow, some way, someone at Bungie thought taking away random rolls was a good idea. In a looter shooter, they thought that was a good idea. They gave us double primary.
And this was during the Activision era, so maybe it was like Activision was being weird. But yeah, what happened, man? How did we go from the greatest thing in the world? Oh my God, is that really the stats we used to have? Holy.
Was the narrative okay? Maybe, but now we went the other way. Now the gameplay sucked. Now this was by far the darkest hour of Destiny. I know we're living through some dark times right now. That Curse of Osiris era inside of Destiny, bruh, it was bad. And it took a massive uphill battle through Warmind into Forsaken to save Bungie. Bungie literally had to kill Cade to save themselves. Now did it work? It did. Forsaken was an absolute hit. The amount of content we got in Forsaken was more than we've ever seen before. And to this day,
such a great time.
Holds the standard for what we want in a year of Destiny content. But what this really established is that Bungie has a cycle, and they've continued this cycle for quite some time. And that's to just launch the game and then fix it later. Something that I know many other gaming companies have done over the years. But let me just say, the industry has changed. It's 2026 now, fellas, and you don't get a redemption expansion a year later. You get at best 2 weeks. Look at the graveyard of.
Yeah, again, maybe back in the day you could do this because like game launches weren't as frequent, right? But now it's like, you know, everybody's making some kind of version of some game. So like, if your game sucks, people are just gonna drop you in like a week, and there is no going back because you know you have to make a good impression. You can't do that anymore. There's no room up anymore. You got to make a good game. And if the game is good, people will play it. And there's no like weird, like companies need to learn that the games need to speak for themselves. Don't speak for the game.
Live service games. If Marathon launches with that fix-it-later mindset, it will fail. Players that play extraction shooters will pick it up for a day at most and go right back to Arc Raiders or Escape from Tarkov. I felt like everybody was dogging on us last year for saying that this game needed to be delayed, but it most definitely needed to be. Bungie could not go into this with the same game plan they've gone into it with Destiny. And keep in mind, a huge reason that even worked for Destiny was because, well, there really isn't anything competing against Destiny. Yes, you've got other looter shooters, but none of them are quite Destiny. No. Marathon, though, dude, it's launching with competition all the.
Okay, I mean, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of competition, and I maybe am not the main extraction shooter player, but a lot of these games I don't really care for. Mainly Arena Breakout, Gray Zone, and Delta Force. I never got into Tarkov, but from what I've seen, it looks like a great game. Just not my game. And then Hunt Showdown, I played a little bit of, but I never really. Again, it just wasn't. I didn't like the time period. I think is what my biggest issue with that one. But like mechanic wise, it's really cool. I like Hunt Showdown. Just not really something I could see myself playing long term. Arc Raiders, though. Arc Raiders was the first game that's in this extraction shooter genre that I dumped. Like, I think when it launched, I had at least 50 hours by the end of week 1, maybe more than that, something like that. I hit level 75. Honestly, I think the success of Arc Raiders helps Marathon. Even though Marathon is probably going to be a little bit more PvP focused, it's still a very casual, or at least from what I've played and seen in the past, it's a very casual extraction shooter. Well, maybe not very casual. It's more casual of an extraction shooter, kind of like Arc Raiders. And I think there's a lot of people who might be interested in just seeing if Marathon is a good game, so they have something else to play when Arc Raiders is kind of in its little content drought. I guess just speaking from my personal experience, I want both Arc Raiders and Marathon to succeed because let's say Arc Raiders comes out with a new update, and if the companies are smart, they'll like stagger their updates. So Arc Raiders comes out, new update drops, everybody's playing Arc Raiders, right? And then like let's say 2 weeks after that happens, I mean 2 weeks is like a whatever, it's not really too much time, but you know, maybe a month, 2 weeks to a month you spend playing Arc Raiders. You know, you get through everything, and it's like, damn, I really need something else to play while I'm waiting for the next update to Arc Raiders. Or, you know, maybe you don't like the expansion or the update to Arc Raiders as much as the last one or something like that. And so it's like, you know, I'm not really interested in this, but I still like the genre and I want something else to play. Marathon could be that game that, you know, bridges the gap between updates and vice versa. You know, Arc Raiders could be the, if there's a lull in Marathon, then Arc Raiders can help bridge the gap between Marathon updates. So realistically, the games succeeding only help each other, in my opinion.
And I can't imagine the pressure on Joe Ziegler and the team right now. They have to know that perfection is necessary for this launch. But with the trauma out of the way, let's talk shop. Let's talk about Marathon, its most recent closed tests, and just seeing what the experience is like for those that have played the most recent playtests. A lot of people have said that the gunplay is peak Bungie. The movement is grounded. Think like Apex, but meets Halo. That part we expect.
God, I like the sound of that. Apex meets Halo.
Bungie. The movement is grounded, that deviates from last year's experience. We played a bunch during the alpha, and yes, this gameplay looks way different than what they showed us during the BIDOC. But there was something that was brought up last year during the alpha, was that the world itself seemed to be missing friction. It seemed to be missing an element that existed in other extraction shooters. And this is not coming directly from us. Even Shroud said that's something that made Tarkov stand out, was that friction. Bungie's answer? They've really amped up enemy AI. Apparently, the UESC bots are brutal. We're not talking about like dregs, stand there and shoot a couple shots at you. We're talking UESC bots that can end your run before you even see another player. It seems like Bungie has made the world substantially more challenging. However, there is a fine line between challenge and misery. It seems like Bungie's trying to walk that line. I've sat down and had a few conversations with some of the Marathon devs, and what they're going for is a more competitive extraction shooter. It is going to mean something to have the gear in this game, and you have to respect not only other players on the map, but especially enemy AI. Now, this is also where I bring up...
Okay. I'ma be real, though. As far as, like, challenge is concerned, I would rather the game release hard and then they walk it back than the game release, especially for the Destiny community. I think a lot of Destiny players will enjoy Marathon if it is hard and the PvE enemies are, like, you know, basically other players to some degree. Like, give me legendary or heroic Halo campaign level AI in Marathon. Because right now, that's a big issue in Destiny, is the AI, not terrible, but the difficulty of the game, just because we're so powerful, is like, it's not that challenging anymore. Unless you're, you know, playing with like modifiers that just make everything kind of a bullet sponge to some degree. So I say bring on the challenge. As a person who plays a lot of Destiny, I think it'd be cool if you're just like walking through like the swamp area and then, you know, maybe it's all foggy and then all of a sudden you just get hit by like a sniper bullet from one of the AI and like your shields get cracked and, you know, it's like, oh, is this another player? Is this AI? Like, what did I just get hit by? Yeah, it would suck to, you know, lose your gear because like maybe another player, you know, realizes that you're fighting, but that would also just make you more cautious. You would actually have to coordinate with your team. Maybe you do need the recon visor, whatever, to find these snipers, or maybe these snipers spawn in a certain area or something like that. And so when you go into that area, it's good to have a certain team set up. It needs to be hard up front and then if it's like a problem, they can adjust that in like future updates and stuff. I don't want to be in this world and not feel like the USEC is a threat. I think that would kind of just kill the game to some degree for me. So I say bring on the challenge, make Marathon hard, and then if we have to, we can address difficulty in a later patch or something like that.
Arc Raiders, because I feel like Arc Raiders does such a good job with this. I wouldn't say enemy AI in Arc Raiders is completely suffocating, but get a Rocketeer on that booty. Now that's pretty suffocating. No lie, I really do like how Arc Raiders balances their enemy AI. And I'm curious to see how Bungie handles it themselves. And I also think Arc Raiders does a really good job of adding just character. Even though, yes, these are robots you're dealing with, or in this case, Arc, I would say every one of these enemy types just have their own distinct character to them. And that is one thing that I felt like last year during the alpha, was that all these UESC bots just kind of blended together. I want that moment of fear, like back in the day in Halo, when certain elite types would step out. You knew, oh my God, I'm about to be in a hell of a fight. Now, one thing to
especially during legendary runs
lately is that friction. Arc Raiders uses a system called aggression-based matchmaking, which is more likely to place you into lobbies based on if you play more aggressive and like to PvP, or if you play more passive. You'll then get placed against mainly friendlier PvE players. I feel like something like this does take away the friction, hence why some...
I agree and disagree, but we'll let him continue.
People have even brought up clips like these where it shows literally the entire lobby all extracting together. Again, I'm not a dedicated extraction player, but in my short career playing extraction shooters, the things that are memorable to me are those high stakes, high tension moments. And Bungie's gonna have to figure out how they're gonna deal with this, because there seems to be a blend of systems throughout all different games, whether it's skill-based matchmaking, fire team-based matchmaking, aggression-based matchmaking, whatever it is that Marathon and Bungie decides on. I just hope it's a system that works and can be manipulated, because it seems like even in things like Arc Raiders, you can manipulate your own matchmaking. For my Destiny players, it's like the equivalent of like letting yourself
yeah, I haven't run into too many problems as far as aggression-based matchmaking. There's definitely runs that are easier, or not easier, but like more friendly in Arc Raiders, but I still get plenty of people who, like, you know, aren't friendly. I think any form of matchmaking, there's going to be some level of manipulation, especially if you announce it or, you know, explain how it works. Like, if we don't want manipulation of the matchmaking system, I don't think Bungie should tell us how it works. Which can also lead to people getting angry that they don't know how it works. But I don't think aggression-based is that great, to be honest, especially for Marathon. I think it kind of works in Arc Raiders, but I think Marathon would need, like... I think the casual playlist, just leave open matchmaking. If you get shit on, you get shit on. And if there is, like, a more hardcore playlist, make that kind of more of a skill-based playlist. I don't know. That's always been a issue in games that have those kind of modes, and it always will be. I think there's no real way to, I guess, combat all that without just hiding the way that your matchmaking works. But players are also gonna figure out how it works too, so I don't know. That's a tough one, but
get farmed as to tank your stats so that you can end up in easier lobbies to then farm out. This is definitely an issue that Marathon will be faced with as well. So far, we've seen the world greatly change in the Vidoc. It looks substantially better than what it looked last year. Now, I know somebody's going to bring up the look of the weapons, the UI. I get it. May not be the most appealing thing. We know Bungie can make sexy weapons. Hell, they make them inside of Destiny all the time. But even more important than this is navigating your UI during combat. That's the thing that's the most important to me. Am I able to get to all my items quickly? Am I getting responsive feedback from each of these? The UI here serves a purpose. That purpose is, well, to inform you and to give you the best fighting chance, considering when you die in this game, you lose everything.
I'm gonna be real. I really like the almost pixelated look of the weapons. It's definitely a unique art style, but I know some people aren't into that.
Stakes are high. Fortunately, Bungie did hear what we had to say last year about incorporating solo players. And they've given us not only solo queue, but a shield called Rook. Essentially, your scaff. You're able to drop into matches with Rook already in progress. Now, arguably the most interesting thing is that Rook has a blend feature. Yes, you can literally walk right up to other UESC bots and then just blend into them. And they'll ignore you, at least for a certain amount of time. So even if you do run into another team, you can potentially separate yourself from them by blending in with enemy AI. Now listen, personally, I feel like you gotta have some rat gameplay in here somewhere. It adds that little bit of paranoia in for the squads that are still playing in the game, and it's a low-stake gamble for players that may have just lost all of their items. I can't tell you how many times I did free kit runs back in Arc Raiders, and let me just say, I walked away with some of the best loot in the game. And with things like proximity chat being added, this could create some pretty good moments between players. Although I will say, inside of Marathon, I think the policy is probably going to be shoot first, which is different than Arc Raiders, but also more in line with what I've seen from Tarkov.
That could be a way to do it. Maybe if you have a loadout, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but so if you have a loadout and you go into the game with a loadout, it's loadout based matchmaking to some degree. Maybe it's like, okay, so my loadout is worth 20,000, right? And then based on that, you could do like, I'm going to match players within 5K of each side. So if my loadout is 20,000, I'll go up against people who have loadouts of like 15, and I'll go up against loadouts who have like 20, 25, or maybe do 10K, so it'd be like 10,000 and 30K. And then what you could do is Rook can go into any kind of loadout match or something like that. That could be one way to do it. I don't know if that's, but if you're going to have like less carry space and all that jazz, that might be a fun way to do it where, you know, Rook can go into anything. But again, people will take advantage of that because it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to run Rook runs to get a bunch of gear and then go into an actual game. Kind of goes back to my point where it's always going to be kind of manipulated to some degree, but that could be kind of fun.
Tarkov, I don't think anyone really asked the other person if they're dangerous or not. At least my experience, I just immediately shot. And that's because when you're playing a first-person game, brother, you're already there. Like, you're zoomed in. There's no humanity about it. You're already there to murder. So when you see somebody in the world of Marathon, you may stop and be like, hey, man, don't shoot. But it's a good chance you're going to shoot first. And so I think the culture here for Marathon is going to be a lot different than what my Arc Raider players have been experiencing now for the past 3-4 months. So all those
I think I agree, unless it's like a raid-esque situation. I think that if you go into a map and there's like really high tier enemies everywhere, that might be the one place that players actually kind of team up. Whereas like, you know, on the maps where there's not as many high tier bots, if that exists, we'll see a lot more PvP.
Cute little interactions that you see in things like Arc Raiders, it might take place here in Marathon, but man, I think people are just going to cook you immediately. My policy is definitely going to be shoot first. Now this takes us to the integrity of Marathon, and that's really going to come down to two things. Number one, it's anti-cheat, and number two, it's monetization. Now, anti-cheat wise, I've seen them say they're using Battle Eye. I don't know if it's going to be a hybrid system. Yes, we have Battle Eye inside of Destiny 2. Does it block cheaters? Sometimes, and then sometimes not. Honestly, cheating inside of Destiny like comes in waves, but without a doubt, cheating has been a big problem inside of Destiny for years now. And at one time, it was so bad that you would get 3, maybe even 4 cheaters in a single card of Trials. When Trials of Osiris first returned to us, cheating was everywhere. Now, has cheating diminished since then? It has, but it's still there. And yes, we definitely still run into cheaters. Now, I'm not saying Bungie should have any tolerance toward cheaters ever, but in Marathon, it needs to be immediate, permanent bans forever, with some way of keeping them from just creating creating another account and jumping back in. Now, that's the argument behind having a $40 price tag. It's another gate. You want to cheat, get your account banned, create another one. Guess what? You're going to have to fork out $40 more in order to jump back in. Honestly, this did help inside of Trials of Osiris and Destiny. At one time, it used to be free to play, but they had to lock it behind the most recent expansion because there was just so many cheaters, man. People would just make new free accounts all the time. And even to this day, they still do so, but in more elaborate ways, whether it's like Epic Game users or Windows Store stuff, whatever.
Well, I think Arc Raiders, the way it works too, where it gives you back loot if you do report someone and they end up being accused of cheating, I think that is a great way to do that. So like if I'm going to lose something because of a cheater, and then maybe like it takes a couple days, but like 2 days later, it's like, hey, this guy got banned. Here's all the stuff that you lost when you died in the game. But I do agree, they need to be perma-banned or at least... No, actually, I think there should be zero tolerance, but...
Those are normally the ones, man, that I see cheating. But in Marathon here, guys, Bungie has got to have a zero tolerance policy when
I
it
agree.
comes to cheating.
They need to be drastic measures for sure.
Destiny, they moved way too slow when it came to addressing cheaters. Now, some other monetization things that are pretty good includes the like of non-expiring battle passes. For instance, if you buy season
yes. I love this. Yes.
1 in March and you don't finish it until 2027, it's still going to be there. So essentially, no FOMO, no login, or you lose it. This is a good thing. I don't think anyone is a fan of FOMO, even if yes, logically on paper, it may make sense for
no FOMO
engagement, but man, to hell with all that. Now this takes us to this VA cast. Now you may be looking at this going,
oh
why
my
the hell?
God, dude, this cast lineup is freaking crazy. I'm so excited for this. Especially if there is going to be like a huge narrative push in this game. This is going to be such a great lineup. Maybe I'll have a link to a website where you can look at all the casts down below in the comments, but definitely check this list out. A lot of people from just really great games. Expedition 33, Baldur's Gate is in there. Just a plethora of great voice actors.
Oh, does Bungie have this lineup, which is an absolute stacked lineup for an extraction shooter of all things? Fellas, we've got Ben Starr, Jennifer English, Roger Clark. Now, for those that don't know these guys, Roger Clark was Arthur Morgan. Neil Newborn, Asterion from BG3. Jennifer English, everything she's ever been a VA on has won Game of the Year. And of course, Ben Starr is literally everywhere, from Warframe to Final Fantasy. And guys, this list just goes on, man. This is a hell of a cast. Now, I think Bungie did this for 2 reasons. Number 1, they're great voice actors. Hell, there's a reason why we have Morla Gordana inside of Destiny. She kills it as Eris Morn. And the same with pretty much all these VAs on this list. But number 2, dare I say, this is kind of a jab at Arc Raiders. As you know, Arc Raiders, yes, they have VA.
I think it is a jab to some extent, but I don't think it's like purposely done.
But they also have a lot of just AI assisted voice acting. They use essentially what they call a hybrid approach, featuring human performances that train AI, and then those actors are compensated via royalties. Now, this is no different than how Embark has done their previous game. The finals also had AI voice acting, but for Bungie to just immediately disclose this cast tells me that they're saying, hey, this is how you do it.
And I like the tone of Marathon, and I've seen it kind of here and there in this video, especially some of these outside areas. I love this like foggy rain weather. I know it's not the only thing, but this is a vibe. And then on top of that, you have these voice actors that are top tier, and they're going to be talking to each other about things going on in the world. I hope they have like interactions. And if you don't like that, hopefully you can turn it off too. But this is just going to make this that more immersive and just wonderful to play. And, you know, really add to the story that they're trying to tell, whatever it may be.
Close this cast tells me that they're saying, hey, this is how you do it. This is truly AAA quality. The real question is this just going to be some vendors talking to us, or is there actually going to be a story here, a story being told within an extraction shooter? And I know my Marathon community might be coming out right now saying, of course they're going to tell a story. Listen, I've gone down this path before with Destiny, all right? I can only read so many lore cards, even if they're voice acted. With a cast like this, brother, I'm kind of expecting some sort of like campaign-like experience. I don't want to get...
I wouldn't be surprised if it's, and again, I don't want to say this because I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but if it's kind of like Titanfall, first one, where it's like, okay, we have these like multiplayer-esque missions, but then like in between there's maybe cutscenes that link certain missions together, and then, you know, like when you beat, maybe there's like a secret dungeon, and then you clear it and you get out, and then it gives you like a little cutscene of something going on as far as like, okay, I did this thing for this faction, and then a cutscene happens. Maybe something like that. We'll have to see. But yeah, I would hope that they have some kind of really cool thing set up for the marathon story.
Too ahead of myself, but you don't just bring a cast like this on to just have them read the lore cards. There's gonna
Goddamn
have to be
right.
something else. And I know this is where I veer off into copium land, but I think this is just too good of a cast to not have them tell the bizarre story of
I can't
Marathon,
wait.
which let me just say is a trippy story in itself. And let me even go a step further and say, you know, this would actually be pretty good to put alongside maybe, I don't know, a PvE mode. I feel like everybody loses their mind when we mention PvE. They're like, yo, if you want to play PvE, go play Destiny. All I'm saying is that if Marathon really pops off, I do think that they should consider adding some form of a PvE mode, and especially
I don't know. If there was PvE missions that maybe you get access to, like like a dungeon or a raid, but then I don't know how they would do that. That could be kind of cool. Like, okay, I did these objectives for this vendor. Now I'm gonna go clear this area that, or maybe, you know, you open up a dungeon and then it gets walled off, so like no one else can get in there until you've cleared the boss at least. And then once you've killed the boss, maybe there's like a extraction point that's like halfway back through the dungeon, therefore you can get out, but then maybe players can try to meet you halfway or something like that. I think that would be kind of a cool system, but we'll just have to see.
in a world where you're trying to tell a story, PvP might be a bit too stressful to cohesively lay that story out for players. But in a PvE environment, that might be the place where we take in this star-studded cast of VAs and learn the lore of this game, which is rich and deep. And it really sucks that for Destiny for years, the only way you really got that experience was really through YouTubers. I had to watch Bife and Mylan, who I love dearly, and they do such a good job with the lore, but it was a necessity to watch those guys in order to even know what the hell was going on. Again, Marathon does not have that luxury. So guys, those are my thoughts on Marathon coming from a Destiny veteran. Like I said, going into the final shape, where I sit is cautiously optimistic. And let me just say, Destiny players, even though yes, some may come off pretty jaded, would love nothing more than to have another game that completely grabs them. We just want
I agree. Please, Marathon, do a good job.
a good game, man. Obviously,
I'm
we
so
want Destiny
excited.
3. But if Marathon actually is a really good game, dude, none of us are gonna be like, yo, the hell with you, Bungie. How dare you make a great game? I would love for this game to be great. Nothing makes me happier than having a game that completely grabs me by the balls and doesn't let go. But I'm not gonna force it. The game is either good or it's not. And in this case, for Marathon specifically, and for Bungie, the bar is set very, very high. Fellas and ladies, thank you all.
Great video, as always. We'll just have to see. We'll see. I think we have 2 days, and we'll be seeing more of Sony's kind of lineup coming. We'll probably edit that video today, try to get it out tonight, and hopefully you guys enjoy my thoughts and takes on some of the marathon stuff. I'm going to be covering it day one on our Twitch channel, so go ahead and give us a follow on there if you aren't already following. But yeah, thanks. Hopefully you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.